Hi there, welcome to my social science class. This is Asta Mewada here. We begin with chapter 1, that is 2 big states of class 7 for semester 1. We are going to study about the 2 big states in this lesson, that is Kannauj and Vatapi. Let us take the first state, that is Kannauj, which is in the present day Haryana. The downfall of the Gupta kingdom in the 6th century brought about the breakup of the northern Indian kingdom into many small republics and monarchy states. Prabhakar Vardhana of Thaneshwar, that is in present day Haryana, was the first ruler of the Vardhana dynasty. Let us understand his family here. Prabhakar Vardhana had 2 sons and a daughter. His eldest son was Rajyavardhan and Harshvardhan was his second son. He also had a daughter named Rajshri who was married to the king of Kannauj named Grahavarmana. Kindly note the dates here for King Harshvardhana. He was born in the year 590 AD. He came to the throne in 606 AD and ruled till his death in 1647. Now coming to Harshvardhana, that is his rule period from 606 to 647 AD. After the death of Prabhakar Vardhana, his elder son Rajyavardhana came to the throne of Thaneshwar. I already mentioned that their sister Rajashri was married to the king of Kannauj. Now during this time, the king of Kannauj was defeated by the king Devgupta of Malwa and Rajashri had been cast into prison. Rajyavardhana, the then king of Thaneshwar, could not stand this affront on his family, marched against Devgupta and defeated him. But it so happened that at this moment, Shashanka, the king of Gauda in eastern Bengal, entered Magda as a friend of Rajyavardhana, but he was in a secret alliance with Malwa king. Accordingly, Shashanka treacherously murdered Rajyavardhana. Now it was under these circumstances that only at the age of 16, Harshvardhana had to ascend the throne and shoulder the responsibility of Thaneshwar. So after coming to the throne, the first thing he decided was to free his sister. But meanwhile, Rajshri had escaped from the clutches of Devgupta and had run away into the Vindhya forest. Harsha went into the forest in search of his sister, and with the help of the people living in the forest and a Buddhist hermit named Divakar Mitra, he saved his sister from committing sati. Now, as Kannauj was without a king, Harsha became its ruler. He later defeated Devgupta, the king of Malwa. Again, he had also vowed to kill Shashanka, the king of Gauda, who had killed his brother. For this, he formed an alliance with the king of Kamrup, that is in Assam, Bhakhara Varman. With a large army, Harsha defeated the king, that is King Shashanka, and won a major part of his kingdom. We can see that Harsha had conquered Bihar, Orissa, Malwa and Saurashtra. He then moved to the south only to be stopped by Pulkeshi II of the Chalukya dynasty in the south. As a result, the Narmada became the southern limit of Harsha's empire. Narmada became the southern limit of Harsha's empire. Harsha ruled for 41 years, and after his death, the idea of a single kingdom ruling the northern India disintegrated. Let us come to Harsha's reign and administration. The officials in this empire were paid in land grants instead of money. The king was assisted by a council of ministers, that is the commander-in-chief of the army, the Pratihara, that is Dwarpal, Sandhi Vigrahaka, foreign minister, Rajdut, that is ambassador, Par Rajya Mantri, Mahadanda Nayak, Chief Justice, and Akshar Patalika, Registrar. So these were the council of ministers who assisted the king. Harshvardhana personally supervised the administration of his state by travelling extensively to different parts of his empire. He would move on his owned personally, he would be supervising the whole empire. He divided his daily routine into three parts for this. The first was for administration and the other two was for public welfare and religious activities. Here it is worth noting that Harshvardhana was initially a devotee of Shiv, but later on he became a follower of Buddhism. That is when his religious activities increased. Coming to imprints, that is marks left by Harshvardhana. He built many rest houses for the people who were traveling, wells, step wells, ensuring that there is enough water, there is no scarcity of water, lakes, mutts. Mutts are, they refer to monasteries in Hinduism, and viharas, that is meeting place for Buddhist monks. He would organize a Buddhist religious meet every year and would organize a huge religious congregation, that is gathering at Prayag. Here he would donate generously. The great Sanskrit poet and writer Banbhatta adorned his court. He had such great people in his court. Banbhatta was one of them. He has written the Harsh Charitra. What is Harsh Charitra? It is a biography of King Harshvardhana. And he has also written the Kadambari. That is a romantic novel. So Harsh Charitra and Kadambari are two books that are still famous till date. King Harshvardhana himself was a writer and wrote 3 plays, Nag Anand, Ratnavali and Priyadarshika. So besides being a great ruler, he was also a writer himself and he has written many plays. Coming to Nalanda University. We know that the Nalanda University was initially founded by Kumar Gupta, one of the Gupta dynasty. Again, it was patronized by Harshvardhana also, besides many other rulers also. The university had access to revenue of 100 villages. What was this needed for? This revenue was needed for the upkeep and maintenance of the university. It is known that the renowned chemist Acharya Nagarjuna, who has proved that iron, arsenic and mercury ash could be used as medicine, also belonged to the Nalanda University. What about the life of the people during his time? We get a lot of information about this time from the writings of a Chinese traveler named Huan Sang. The towns and villages were fortified and had huge gateways at their entrances. The society was divided into 4 groups: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras. The Brahmins continued to enjoy a very high and respectable position in the society because of the distinct feature of Brahmanism. The women of the higher class were not scheduled. They received lot of education. Even Princess Rajeshri received good education and was fully trained up in various fine arts such as song, music and dance by the experts. But child marriage were the order of the day. Even Princess Rajeshri was married before attaining puberty. Widow remarriage was not permitted. Again, the custom of sati was also prevalent. Harshvardhana's mother, that is Yasovati, she also had become a sati. Even Princess Rajeshri, like I had mentioned before, was mounting the funeral pyre of her husband in the Vindhyas forest but was prevented by her brother Harshvardhan. There was no parda system, but there were several restrictions on the movements of women in the society. The diet mainly consisted of milk products, wheat, rice, fruits and vegetables, and the people wore clean and simple clothes. Their ornaments were made from flowers. As far as the occupation is concerned, farming and animal husbandry were the main occupation. Land revenue was 1/6 of the production that was given to the king. Trade existed even during that time. A highway from Patliputra to Bhrugu, Kutch port was built for trade. Gold and silver coins were used for commercial transactions. Now, export of ornaments, statues, ivory, carved wooden pieces was done. During this time, India had good relations with Rome, which led to the inflow of gold in India. We traded for gold. People followed Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism. The Chinese traveler Yuan Sang visited India during Harsha's time and studied Buddhism at Nalanda for 5 years. He mentions that there were around 100 mutts during this time, and people lived a very simple, pious and peaceful life based on living by the rules of moral conduct and justice, that is typically doing what is right and just. With this we come to the end of our first big state, that is Kannauj. Now we move on to the second part that is Vatapi, which is in the south. Let us understand the rulers of this dynasty. Take a look at the names of the kings and their years of rule. The south was ruled by the Chalukya dynasty and their capital at Vatapi, which is Badami in present day Karnataka. The Chalukya dynasty was established by Pulkeshin I in 543. He took Vatapi under his control and made it his capital. He performed the Ashwamedh Yagna, that is, a horse is accompanied by warriors of the king, and the horse would be released to wander for a year. If the horse enters into a foreign land, then that king had to either fight or submit. His flag had the Varaha avatar, that is the third birth of Vishnu as a wild boar. He was succeeded by his son Kirtivardhan. And after Kirtivardhan's death, his brother Manglesh, he was put as a caretaker, as Harshvardhana was just a baby at that time. But Manglesh had other plans and he tried to kill the prince several times. But finally, of course, Manglesh was overthrown by Pulkeshin II and gained control of the throne. Pulkeshin II ruled from 610 to 642 CE. He was a very courageous king and gained control over the Lat, that is in South Gujarat, Gurjar, North Gujarat, Vengi region, that is between Krishna and Godavari. When Pulkeshin II pushed forth up to Narmada, he came face to face with Harshvardhana of Kannauj, who was already the lord of the north. You know that Harshvardhana is known as the lord of the north. In this decisive battle fought on the banks of the river Narmada, Harsha lost a major part of his elephant force and had to retreat. Pulkeshin entered into a treaty with Harsha, with Narmada being designated as the border between Chalukya Empire and that of Harshvardhana in the north. It was indeed a great victory of the Chalukya monarch. With this conquest, Pulkeshin's control extended over most of the southern India, including Maharashtra and parts of Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. He received the title of Dakshina Patheshwara, that is Lord of the South, at the same time. So Harshvardhana is Lord of the North and Pulkeshin II was known as the Lord of the South. Again, Pulkeshin II was also a lover of arts, as seen from the caves of Vatapi and Dharapuri. The kings of Chalukya dynasty were followers of Hinduism, but during this time Buddhism declined, whereas Digambar's Jain sect, this sect gained popularity. Pulkeshin II finally met his end in 1642 CE in a conflict with the Pallava king of Kanchipuram. King Harshvardhana has also died 5 years after him in With this, we come to the end of this chapter. I hope you have understood the lesson well. Thank you. Goodbye.